Welcome to another packed episode of Jasiri for Thursday, the 11th of September. I feel like the month just started, but we're already talking about the 11th of September. It's all right. The end of the year is on the way. But on the show today, we start with a conversation on what it really takes to drive industrialization-led growth in Nigeria. The conversation after that looks beyond policies and infrastructure. What about people? The truth is, no nation can industrialize without investing in the next generation of innovators, builders, and leaders. And that's where mentorship comes in. How do we create a culture where experience is passed down, where young talent is nurtured, and where guidance fuels growth? Because building industries isn't just about factories, it's about building people too. So first.
Yes, first off, now we focus on one of Nigeria's most pressing economic challenges. That's how to drive industrialization-led growth that truly creates jobs and transforms lives. Now, for too long, our economy has been held back by weak infrastructure, inconsistent policies, and a reliance on informality. But the conversation is shifting towards building a job-rich, diversified real economy powered by MSMEs, local value chains, and accessible energy. Now, joining us to unpack the path forward is Dr. Zuhumman Dapel. He is a member of the technical subcommittee of the 31st Nigerian Economic Summit. Welcome to Jasiri, Dr. Dapel.
Pleased to be here. Thank you.
All right, so Dr. Dapel, Nigeria's productive base has remained weak for decades. The NESG Summit this year is focusing on building a job-rich and diversified real economy. Now, from your perspective, what do you see as the biggest constraints holding back industrialization today?
So, first of all, let me just give a quick background. I shall share my perspective on this. Nigeria's economy right now has the greatest window of opportunity to move the economy forward using industrialization, to make the economy export-led in terms of the major source of growth. And why do I say that? The value of the currency is at its lowest, and that means our commodity is cheaper to the rest of the world. And the simple law of demand states that the lower the price, the higher the demand. So you have the ample opportunity to export a lot of goods to the rest of the world. But that's not the case, and that's why we're having this conversation. Nigeria's manufacturing export in total export is less than 5%. Oil still dominates with over 80%. So it's a very crucial thing to discuss. And why are we not ramping up our manufacturing to drive our growth through export of our manufactured goods? Like you mentioned, there are constraints. Unless these constraints are removed out of the way, we're not going to achieve the kind of growth that manufacturing can generate. One of the biggest constraints is energy. Nigerian businesses, they struggle a lot to gain access to energy to power their business. So when we're talking of energy, we're not talking of energy to charge our phones, to iron our clothes or watch TVs. We're talking of energy to power the industrial sector. Over 60% of businesses in Nigeria right now rely on self-generating electricity, and which is very expensive. And, subsidies removed on petrol, no subsidy on diesel. So these things are feeding into the cost of production of these industries. And that is stifling their productivity because average cost is very high. So the biggest challenge is energy. And you need roughly $10 billion a year over the course of 10 years to close Nigeria's energy gap. So we require huge amount of investment. So in terms of generation, transmission, and distribution, government in the middle owns the transmission. And I think we need to privatize the entire energy system and put in a robust regulatory framework. But you can't just privatize the energy sector if you don't create the enabling environment that will pull the investment and bring people to have confidence and put money in the system to drive the growth. So that's one biggest challenge. And government can privatize that. The second biggest challenge is transportation. Now, that can be done in collaboration with the private sector. You don't expect individuals to own our highways. You don't expect individuals to own our rail tracks. We expect government to be in charge of those. Then the cars that ply this road, the buses, the trains can be owned by individuals, but you have to create that environment and create a confidence that will make people part with their monies and invest from local sources and international sources. That's the second biggest challenge, transportation, to link Nigeria's robust commercial cities like Kano in terms of food, Lagos in terms of financial services, to the rest of Nigeria, passing through Abuja and so on and so forth. And if that happens, you're going to see massive changes, because there was a study by some Harvard economists that looked at the impact of Nigeria's railroad, the colonial railroad that stopped working in the 80s, but the impact possibly is persisting till today. So imagine if we have a railroad that crisscross the country with goods and services, it's going to be a big game changer. That's one. Number three is telecommunication infrastructure. We have broadband deficit. We need broadband. So if you look at thriving tech businesses in America, you talk of Amazon, Google, and so on and so forth, Facebook, they ride on the back of the internet. We need internet in Nigeria. We need a rollout of broadband, that high-speed, full fiber broadband at affordable rate, and that's going to be a strong boost for businesses to thrive. So these are massive constraints that can be addressed both in collaboration with the private sector and the government. But let me say something here on this point. Maybe let me not jump the gun, but perhaps we may discuss that in the process. So this is my thought on these things for now.
Dr. Dapel, you did mention about small and medium businesses, or the small businesses that drive the economy of Nigeria. Many of us can agree that MSMEs are the engine of growth, yet they struggle to scale. And if you look at some of the data when it comes to when businesses enter into a business environment and how many are exiting between 3 to 5 years, we also see that many of the businesses are not surviving, and which makes it hard for us to employ people, but they have their challenges on what's on their own side. What practical steps can Nigeria take to make MSMEs true drivers of job-rich industrialization? Because for any country, they are the backbone. So how do we strengthen our backbone?
So one of the ways you can look at this is you look at what other countries are doing that is working for them, even though the challenges we have in Nigeria are quite specific to us. So we cannot just 100% take the model from other countries, but we can look at, some grounds of similarities. And one of the best SME models I've come across that is fully operational in the world and drives almost 80% of the growth in that country is a German SME model. It's the strongest around the world, and because it's receiving a lot of support from government. So that model, they have like a think tank that does a lot of research. The government infuse a lot of cash into research and development, send people out in the field, collect data, understand what are the biggest problems. You don't just sit out on the desk and try to think around and just do logic. Get on the street, have data, bring in experts, and do a lot of research. I was having a conversation with a professor a few days ago. He was involved in a project to help SMEs in Nigeria flourish, but one thing killed it: political instability in terms of policy changes. I mean, we've not had political instability for a long time in Nigeria because we have been having transition from one civilian regime to another. But there are inconsistencies in these policies. Now, this professor told me that Nigeria's former agri minister, Professor Dashen, pulled together academics from around Nigeria, lots of them with background in agriculture, research, economics. These are top professors, and he designed a pay package for them and asked them to bring out industrial policies that will power the SMEs. And they went on the ground. They went to Kano and found where they were processing hide and skin and all of those kind of stuffs. And those people in the industry of manufacturing leather and shoes, they said they can produce boots and some military gadgets for our military in Nigeria. Boots and some uniform belts, they can make them. And they asked them question, why are you not able to do them? And they said that there is one machine that they need. They have to import it, and they're not getting any support from government to do that. So we can see we have the capacity to drive the change, but if you don't have a mixture of these two things together, you're not going to get anywhere. One, the knowledge on how to direct government action, and that has to come from experts. Number two, government's desire to follow these expert advice without any political strings attached. If you don't have these things combined, get the Nobel laureates in the world to draft the best blueprint for you, you're not going to get anywhere. So we need to isolate all of our policies, be it industrial, monetary policy, and so on and so forth. We need to insulate it from political interests. If that is not done, we're going to continue in that vicious cycle.
Right. Dr. Dapel, you talked about, it's a good thing you talked about this policy inconsistency and the fact that, we need policies that live beyond these political cycles. But then we also know that it can have a major influence on investor confidence. Is there a code or, an answer to creating such policies? Because it's not enough to just, bring up policies and not be able to implement them.
So I don't have the silver bullet, so I don't have a quote to give, but I would share what I think is possibly. So let me just touch some different angles and then we converge at this point. The way Nigeria's constitution is designed has concentrated so much powers in the hand of the president, and that's a big problem. And what are these powers? There are key institutions in this country that are supposed to protect these policies, these institutions that are supposed to be very strong, even if you have the most tyrannical president or the most reckless president, there's little damage he can do if these institutions are very, very strong and they're in good standing. One is the central bank. So the president we've seen can just wake up and fire a central bank governor, even though you need the House of Reps to the Senate to ratify the appointment. The central bank governor can just be removed by the president. And when you do that, it creates lack of confidence. In America, there was a central bank governor, Alan Greenspan. He was so good on his job, and he served under 5 US presidents. He was in office for 18 consecutive years until he finally resigned himself. He served under presidents on the different parties, Republicans, Democrats. But because he was so good on the job, and these people understand that we have to insulate our economy from politics. Mr. Trump cannot wake up today and tell the chairman of Federal Reserve or their central bank governor to raise interest rates. He cannot. Neither would his political associates go through the back door and have access to the dollar and sell it on the streets. He cannot, because that institution is independent. There is another presidential power. The president can appoint and fire military chiefs without any strong recourse. We've seen even president remove chief judge of the federation. Stronghold on the judiciary, stronghold on the military, and all of those things. So we have to take some of that powers, some of these powers from the president, give it to the electorates. And how do you give this power to the electorates? Okay, you said, I like the American model where they have the 2 chambers in Congress, where you have the Senate terms 6 years, you can renew as many as you want. House of Reps 2 years. Now, there are certain decisions that the president cannot take, especially when it has to do with the economy. He cannot take that decision without, like taxes and budget. He cannot take these decisions without the House of Reps. Now, the House of Reps is in office for 2 years. So if the first 2 years of the president is catastrophic, he's going to lose in the midterm election because his fellow countrymen and women would say, you've underperformed in your first 2 years, and therefore we're going to send to you a Congress in the opposition party that will block further actions and stop you from destroying the country. We've seen Mr. Trump lost the midterm in his first year. We've seen Obama too lost midterm. We've seen Joe Biden. And when it comes to certain budgets, they are pushing back against all of these kind of stuffs. So we need to give power to the electorates that when they vote, that their vote count, and that what was voted was what was declared by electoral empire. So the people can say, you are underperforming, we're going to punish you at the ballot by telling you leave the office and give the room for someone else. So we have to protect these institutions. So I've talked about the judiciary, I've talked about the central bank, I've talked about the INEC. And there are a lot of complexities involved, but we have to diminish the presidential powers that the Nigerian constitution has vested on the president. The Nigerian president, even though he's not the most powerful person in the world, he has so much power over his citizens than the US president, who is the most powerful person in the world, has over Americans.
Oxymoron, or almost like a riddle, that the Nigerian president, while not the most powerful president in the world, has some power, more power than the most powerful president in the world, who happens to be the U.S. president. We're going to take a quick break. We still want to talk about local value chains, as well as the sectors that you think, that Dr. Dapel thinks, that we should also be prioritizing, or that show the most promising growth for industrialization-led growth in Nigeria. Let's take a quick time out. This conversation will continue. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Jasiri here on News Central. We're looking at the pressing economic challenges that Nigeria is facing and how to strengthen these things. We have our guest, Dr. Zuhumman Dapel. He's a member of the technical subcommittee of the 31st Nigerian Economic Summit. Dr. Dapel, thank you for staying with us. So let's focus on local value chains. These have always been highlighted as a priority. Where do you see the strongest opportunities for Nigeria to build competitive value chains that can serve both domestic and the export markets?
I have observed over time Nigeria's consumption pattern, and I can say that there are 4 main commodities that we have the population that demand these commodities. So these 4 commodities may be in 4 different industries. If we can produce these commodities within our country, then we're going to have the market for it, because these are the biggest consumables in Nigeria. 1 is food. 2 is pharmaceutical products. 3, building materials. And 4, clothing and footwear. These are the major commodities that Nigerian consume. I think they compose, I think, over 90% of Nigeria's consumption. Now, this is not a rocket science to deal with these challenges and create the opportunity for us to produce. First of all, I don't buy the idea that some of our leaders would come and say, they will force you to consume Nigerian goods. And you see maybe a politician or a lawmaker, you just buy a Nigerian shoe and say, oh, I bought a Nigerian shoe, you should come for it. We encourage you, buy Nigerian car, and so on and so forth. Now, that's not how it should work. Let me give you a scenario. Let's assume that Nigeria imports rice, and the quality of that rice is so good that Nigerians, they love it so much. The landing cost of that rice, that means the cost of the rice, the cost of transportation, custom duties, the landing price in the market, let's say is 10,000 naira a bag. And then you have Nigeria's rice, same or superior quality to that foreign rice. And the cost of production was so low because there was a lot of infrastructure and government support, and so it costs you less to produce that 1 bag of rice. And so you don't need supernormal profit on top. And the cost in the market is 7,000. Now you tell me, if we open our borders without restrictions, would you see Nigerians buying foreign rice or local rice? The answer is obvious. They're going to be buying local rice. So first, we have to kill our tastes for foreign goods by producing our own goods that are in superior quality, top brand, bottom price. And that's how it's going to incentivize Nigerian consumers away from foreign goods to local goods.
Okay, so Dr. Dapel, I apologize because of time. We have to interrupt you there. But very quickly, we just have two more very critical questions that we want to get to, and I'll just need you to, let's be brief with that. The informal sector employs millions, because we talked about it a little bit, but let's dig into it now. Yet often outside of formal structures. How is Nigeria planning to integrate informality into a productive industrial economy without stifling livelihoods? And then adding to that, what sectors do you see as the most promising for driving industrialization-led growth in the near term? If you can just make it a short answer. Unfortunately, I apologize because of time.
Yeah, it's quite short. So the informal sector, registration process, access to the formal sector, there are regulations that are very, very tight, and it's discouraging people. And people are discouraged from paying taxes as well, because once you join the formal sector, you are already in the tax net. And people are reluctant to do that because they would say we're not seeing the impact of the taxes we're paying on our lives. So lack of infrastructure as well, lack of financing as well. So these things, they are barriers to entering the formal sector from the informal sector. And we do have corruption. That's the black market. That's the underground market. It's just for the government to create the incentive. I don't know exactly what the industrial policy in that direction is, but it's to create incentives. Incentives, you nudge people to do the right thing without forcing them. And these things cannot just happen overnight. You got to go out on the street, obtain the data, and design a policy to address constraints that are inherent there. So that's one. So like I said, the promising one are goods that Nigerians consume a lot: building materials, pharmaceutical products, food, and this thing. So you ask yourself, what kind of food that Nigerians consume a lot? Which region in the country produce this food with the advantage of producing this food than any other thing? Why are they not producing it? What can we do to make them start producing it, and so on and so forth? So,
all right, Dr. Dapel, just while we actually wrap up, and if you could tell us briefly, how can we ensure that Nigeria's new industrial strategy delivers inclusive growth, especially for youth, women, and communities in under-industrialized regions?
Yeah, take politics out of it. That's just my answer.
Okay, we said brief, but we didn't expect that.
One sentence.
So take politics out of it. So this equation, a lot of it is built on how political actors, people who make the decisions, who look at the policies, who approve things to go forward, is based on how they act. Take politics out of it. All right, Dr. Dapel, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We know this is ahead of the hashtag NES31, which is holding at Abuja. It's going to be holding in Abuja October the 6th through the 8th, and we'll be covering it extensively as conversations move around the theme of this year, which is, of course, I think it's the reform imperative. And we expect that the president will be speaking about how he plans to work towards industrialization-led growth for Nigeria. Dr. Dapel, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. As we promised you, a conversation on industrialization, but also industries need leaders and nations need people to want to industrialize. When we come back, we talk mentorship. Stay with us.
All right, welcome back to Jasiri. So everyone says mentorship is the key to success, but is it really helping young people grow? Or is it just another way for the powerful to build their own brand? Mentorship is one of those words we hear everywhere, but its true impact is often questioned. For some, it's the bridge that turns potential into achievement. For others, it's overrated because in Nigeria, grit, hustle, and access to real opportunities may matter more than guidance. So let's talk through the myths, the realities of mentorship. Let's ask whether it truly changes lives or whether we've simply romanticized it. Joining us is Chizoba Atsu, entrepreneur, author, and founder of Elle's Icebox, who has built a thriving business while also investing in mentoring the next Jen through her trainings and leadership sessions. Let's get into it. Is mentorship still a game changer? We believe it to be so. Or is it time for people to rethink how we prepare young people for success, especially in this era of Gen Zs, Gen As, Gen Bs, and the rest? Chizoba, welcome to Jasiri.
Thank you. Thank you so
Good
much
morning
for
and
having me,
welcome.
ladies.
So you've built your
Yeah.
business into a gold standard, basically, in terms of you're a pioneer, and then you've also now become a gold standard. Looking back, did mentorship play a role in what you have achieved, especially business-wise, or would you say it was mostly grit, instinct, and hustle?
I'll be really honest, I think it's definitely a combination of both. It's important to have it's really great to have some sort of guidance, support when you're building a business, having someone to look up to, either someone you directly have access to or someone far away like a Dangote. A lot of people, you've been able to read his story. When he was 8, he went to live with an uncle, his mom's brother. He learned from, so he's given a template for other people to learn from that. Okay,
Yeah.
you can learn, you grow underneath someone. That's the template. For me, I had an older cousin who had built a really great business, and I could look to her to see that, you know what, it's possible to build a successful business as a woman, as a business owner in a very, difficult environment, but also you have to have tenacity to stay the path because business in Nigeria can be very tumultuous. You have many ups, you have many downs, from staffing to costs, just to taxes even. So there's so many things that could come about. So you have to have the tenacity to stay the distance, but having a mentorship, seeing someone that's run a business for over 40 years, so you're not going to do anything
there.
wonderful.
Yeah.
You're following in other people's footsteps. There are many businesses that have had longevity, and I want my business to be one of them.
That's
Some
interesting.
people feel that money, well, many young entrepreneurs now, they feel that money above everything, like money above mentorship. What they need is funding. What do you think? Do you think that funding is more important than mentorship, or there should be like a 70-30 relationship, 60-40? What do you think?
I'm one of the people that doesn't really understand the why this generation is trying to skip a step. I truly believe you start from the bottom. I don't believe in, having...
Shortcuts.
Yes, it would be great to have funding. If, for example, the government says, you know what, if you already start a business, we have 1 million naira to fund you. It would be nice. However, there are people that have started businesses with 10,000 naira. They sold goods worth 10,000 naira, had a profit, added money, and then scaled.
They kept going.
And I believe in scaling because it helps you learn all the nuances of your business so that you can put the building blocks together to help you get to the standard you're trying to get to. But when you skip those steps, when you have 1 million naira to start a business, when you run out or you have difficulty and then there's no money, you don't know where to start from because you had that little cushion. So I believe you should start with the grit. Have a base amount, raise 10,000 naira, sell granules, make a profit, 20,000 and 30 and 40 and 50 and keep building. And that was how I started my business, and that's my principle, and I would.
And it has worked, and I think you've seen this formula work for others
I have.
as well.
I have. It definitely is a formula that is tried and tested. It's something that has worked for so many other entrepreneurs. It's just the overall key I would advise: doing the work, doing the groundwork, and not relying on a cushion, or some sort of financial. So many people, and there's a lot of funding in the world today, which is great. So a lot of people rely on funds, competitions, which is very, very nice to have. If you're opportune, go for it. But if that doesn't work for you, I would not say sit back and keep waiting and trying that over and over. Try it the other way. Try the alternative.
All right, Chizoba, now you mentor a lot of people, right? Do you ever worry that, your mentees expect too much hand-holding instead of building resilience? How do you balance guiding your mentees without making them too dependent on you?
I think one of my steps with that has been setting goals. We try to set goals because I can't help you achieve the business goals. I can tell you, let's put together a marketing plan. Let's have a 5-step marketing plan. And, once we've come up with that plan, you have to execute it. I can't handhold you through messaging all the clients you have, even if it's 5, and calling each of them to find out if they like another item that they've bought. So we just have key points that we continue to work through so that each time we put a target, you go work on it, you come back, we discuss it, and then we'll just keep putting distance between the times of meeting up and being able to achieve those targets, so you learn that independence. Because I found with a lot of them in the early stages, it's the fear.
And it's something that women, for some reason, we are the owners. We own fear. We can think of all the things that can go wrong, while the men think of all the things that can go right.
Yes.
It's amazing to watch. I'm watching it with my kids now. My son is like, I know it. And my daughter's like, I don't know it. And she knows it, and he didn't.
It's that risk appetite.
It's amazing to watch. It's a natural thing. So we have to overcome those things naturally. So once you see yourself start to live in the fear, you have to stop and say, you know what? Nope. I'm not going to live in the fear. I'm going to live in the belief of success. And that's what all women, we all need to remind ourselves all the time. Because watching men, we get, sometimes men make me laugh. They'll say, you women, you have all these groups. We say, because we needed to support each other. So we rally each other up, and it helps. You men, they don't even need to tell you. Before they tell you go, you guys have gone running. It's amazing to watch. So I just encourage women to always believe in themselves. You should be your own biggest cheerleader. It's great when you have 4 or 5 people cheering you on. But if you can do it on your own, you can do battle by yourself.
As you're talking about women, there was a question further down, but let's just go ahead and bring it up in terms of, there's a perception that women often struggle to find mentors in male-dominated fields, or in fields where there are few women who have entered and have made a name for themselves. Did you face that in any way, especially being, I guess, having what they might call first mover advantage? And do you think that women leaders are doing enough to mentor the next generation?
So this, again, is going to be a very personal journey. There are always going to be, in these women that we've talked about, the fearful ones, there's a scale, 1 to 10. There's some that their fear is only 1. So those people are going to be able to walk into almost any room. This is the mentor they want. They're going to introduce themselves, and they're going to stick to that person. While there's a 1 who is like, oh, I looked at them, and they looked at me funny. Just looking at, somebody is thinking about their car that broke down, and you're thinking they looked at you funny. I'm like, let them tell you no. Don't be afraid of no. No, it does nothing.
Don't say the no in advance.
It does not. Even if that person says no, no does nothing to you. You move on. But it's the fear of the no that bothers me. So identifying a mentor in a field that's male-dominated, I would say, speak to this person, and if that person relates with you the way you choose, great. If not, you move on to the next. You should always have your top 3. Don't rely on the one candidate, I always say, just in case that person's plate at that particular time is too full or too busy. I would say have 3 individuals that you can look to, so that I'm sure within the 3, you'd be able to find one person who's able to meet your needs and help guide you in that area that you need guidance in.
But let's follow up with that. Does gender of the mentor matter? Can men really mentor women? And vice versa, that's one. Given that they haven't really experienced what many women have experienced. And like Lola would say, we're peculiar people. I would say women are more complicated than men, because we tend to look at everything in 360 mode, while the men just look at one thing and run with it. So there's so many things that women deal with. Workplace harassment, there's sexism and all of that. Can men really mentor women? And even there's possible pay gaps, there's promotion issues, it's everything. Women are battling to be at par with the men. Can men really then mentor women appropriately and effectively?
That's a really good question. Truly, I think the men who are supportive of women, especially in the workplace, are clear. You will be able to identify those who position as even slightly open to being supportive, and those who clearly do not. So it would be very important to be very self-aware, to be able to identify those factors in those colleagues, for example, in an office setting. Out of 50 men, truly maybe only 3 or 4 actually have thought about the 360 view of a woman. And you would have to be able to identify those people. Now you can imagine if there are only 4 men out of 100 and there are 100 women, that's a lot for 4 guys to try and take on. So being self-sufficient is really important, and then having peer-to-peer mentoring as well is a thing. You don't need to always look up. You can look to your left and to your right, because even your colleague, a gentleman that's sitting next to you, if they offered him the MD position, he would apply for that role in a minute. While we women are happy to do the 8 steps to get to the MD, we're like, oh, I need the time. I'm not yet there. While the person next to you is like, is it not just this? So I would say, lean in where you have the opportunity to. If you find a more senior person, a gentleman who's open to supporting you, it's difficult for men to
guide women. I mean, when you're in your period, you're going through pre-pregnancy pangs, they really cannot understand it. So we have to segment. When it comes to certain, more feminine issues, let's lean on our female support, whether it's your peer or someone superior. But when it comes to work, I would say definitely try and lean on a male perspective because it's more clear-cut. They cut through all the things that we wrap it up.
Yes.
We like to wrap things up in a nice bowl.
And then nitpick them.
Yes, and men don't.
We do.
So sometimes we need that just to shake us out of our comfort zones and be like, he's like, do this, this, this. We're like, but I thought I needed to know. Do this. So sometimes we need that to get us out of our comfort and help us get to the next.
I like it. Absolutely makes sense.
Let's talk about, godfatherism, right? We know that Nigeria has a culture of godfatherism in politics and also in business. First question, are they the same thing? Godfatherism and mentorship. And then, some have actually said that there's a level of godfatherism when it comes to mentorship, in different sectors and, different industries and all that. But then, what do you think?
And then is it gatekeep? So, because I've seen a lot of these circles. You talked about WhatsApp groups. These circles that women strive to enter, and it almost feels like sometimes mentorship becomes gatekeeping.
So, godfatherism for me is definitely when you're more vested in that person's success. That's the truth. I mean, when you not only want to see someone do well, you are invested in it. Like it's truly beneficial to you as well, whether it's emotionally, politically, or whatever. And I think that's fine. It takes a lot. Someone isn't going to just take someone off the street and offer that level of support. It means there has truly been loyalty, and there's been growth, and there's been involvement in that person's journey. So I think both parties are entitled to that, both the recipient and the godfather, because both parties are vested in that person's success. I've been a member of a women's organization called WIMBIZ for a very long time. And for a lot of people, sometimes they say to me, oh, I don't see the value, they don't do this for me, they don't do that for me. And I'm like, how deeply have you attempted to be a part of this organization? When I joined WIMBIZ, I would call, I would volunteer, I would go to the secretariat. I built relationships with the team members because I wanted to be a part of the organization. I didn't want to be on the outskirts. I could have been, just attend events but I wanted to involve myself and get all the value I could out of it. And out of it, some of my closest friends today I met through WIMBIZ. A lot of my mentors are through WIMBIZ.
How many mentors do you have?
At present, I have about 6.
Why do you have 6 exactly? Okay, hold it. They say we have to go on a break. We need to come back to that. We'll come back to that. Let's take a break. Hold on.
No. Oh la la. Okay, so we're talking about not gossiping. Welcome back to Jasiri on the home run. Our guest has been fantastic on the show. So before the break, she mentioned she had 6 mentors. And all our eyes dilated here because everyone's thinking 6. How does that? It's like,
Kat, you said it's like she's dating 6 people.
wow. How does that work, Chizoba? I mean, you said they're all virtual and you create, but how does 6 mentors work?
So for me, each person brings something very different to my life, right? I have one mentor who, he's very vested in my growth, in my business. All he wants to talk about is next level stuff. He's always pushing. And that's what I said about having male mentors. They're all about growth. And that's all they want to talk about, the trajectory, next level, next steps, where they can come into support, where they can connect you. And I love that relationship for that reason. That's all it's about. Yeah. All we talk about is progressive conversations. I have another mentor who I've had since I was 28.
Wow.
Mrs. Idigwe.
That's like now family. That's family now.
Family. She is. And all she wants to talk about is how well I'm coping, growing, how I'm nurturing my children, and how I'm just finding, how I'm just maintaining the balance and finding myself, not losing myself in my journey. And then the other mentors all have to do with business or spiritual. So I find that between these, and it wasn't like I went looking for all 6. It they just developed over time. So these relationships, 3 started out as pure cut mentor-mentee relationships, but the other 3 are just nurturing, people that have just become vested in who I am and who my business is after all these years. And
So wait, I have to ask, so is it like when you want to ask somebody to go out on a date with you, will you be my mentor? Like, is that... No,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
seriously,
Like how it works.
I've had
I think.
events and
Yeah.
there are young girls who come up to me that I don't know and just want me to be their mentor.
Yeah.
But I often pause because I don't know your character. I don't know who you are. And I want to know who you are. I want to know how dedicated you are, because I believe also that mentors can learn in the mentee relationship as well. And there's some do's and don'ts, establish boundaries, because I've seen mentor and mentee relationships where the mentee is expecting literally almost everything to be done. You should be the one helping them where the interview is. You should connect them with this person. You should do that for them. So is it, will you date me? Will you be my mentor? How do you establish this relationship?
so it's really important to have boundaries,
Yes.
especially when people approach you a lot. You have to be very clear that I'm willing to support you in your goals and your achievements. This is not me coordinating your life or spoon feeding you through it. I will guide you and support you, but you have to do the work. Because I think clarity is also very important, because for a lot of people, because they don't have support systems at all coming up, they don't realize, they don't know what a support system is. They expect it to be a give me. Like, once I have access to you, you need to give me and give me and give me. And they need to understand, I'm here to help you find yourself, not give you anything. I can only give you advice.
I feel like I don't have any mentor. I feel like is it
Yeah,
like
you're not.
like I'm not part of the group?
You're not a peer mentoring count.
I feel like I'm missing out on something big.
Talking about mentoring now, how does that work with Gen Z? Because this is a category. This is a category of people who are bold, well, known to be bold, impatient, just on the go. I want it and I want it now. They're dismissive of hierarchy. They are just badly behaved in our parlance, you know, like looking at it like
Lack respect.
they don't. That's the first thing.
Not
Gen
all of them,
Z.
but some of them.
They deal with my mental
Health.
my mental health is at stake. And so, does mentorship work with the Gen Z?
To be really honest, it's more conversational with the Gen Zs. It's no longer, they've created a world where they don't have a hard structure anymore. So even using the word mentoring, it's too hard.
So what do they call it?
It's too hard. Conversations. You're having coffee conversations where you're having a cup of coffee and you allow them get it all out and you let them speak. And then when they're done, you now try to help them, because what you, as a mentor or anybody giving guidance, brings is structure.
Yeah.
And they live in a world with no structure.
No rules.
So you have to help them understand that for things to build, you need cement blocks. You can't use air.
You need
can't
to have
just use
relationships.
cement.
You can't dismiss everybody.
need the blocks.
You can't burn every bridge. No, these are my pain points, because I find this generation, they like to burn bridges without
They need
thinking
to
about the
understand.
future.
Yeah.
Just think about them like cement. They are cement. They don't have form. So they need you to be the cement block. So you fit in between each block. You need the
I'm
block.
gonna use this.
This,
Let me use
You're
it next
cement.
time.
Next time I'll tell them you're cement.
Gen Z millennial, conversation needs to be had, honestly. But then, let's talk about, mentors using the word mentorship to actually chase clout, because, a lot of people have actually complained that, mentorship is becoming a performance or even a marketing tool, right? You have so many people, who are not even mentors, posting it on their bios on social media, saying they're mentors and all
Or
that.
they're life
But
coaches.
Life coaches, yes.
I'm
How does that actually affect the real support for young professionals? And also, how can we separate real mentorship from self-promotion?
So I said something to a friend of mine recently, and he was complaining about his girlfriend, and he said she's this, she's that. I said, what does she do? She said she sells hair. I said, I have nothing against anyone that sells hair. Please, I'm not generalizing. However, you didn't see a banker. You didn't see someone who works in corporate. You saw an Instagram bae. You are now angry.
Chizoba.
I said, I'm sorry, I don't understand. For me, if you see someone as a figure you want to be your mentor, is it because of social media, or is it because of the person's bio, the person's LinkedIn, the person's achievements, tangible achievements, what they have achieved over years, or what they're just telling you, or they've posted a video and then you just believe it? So if those are the kind of people that the mentees gravitate towards, I almost don't feel sorry for them. Nobody is a child. As long as you're over 18, do the research, check. What has this person achieved that you want them to mentor you? Mrs. Awashika has been on the board of First Bank. If you want her to mentor you, it's clear. She has over 45 years of business and work experience. Let's look for Mrs. Yewande Zacchaeus has been in the events industry for over 30 years, and this is after being a lawyer for a bank. Look for people that have substance. When you see the substance, that's where you go to get information. Because just sitting at home, if they retire for 10 years, there's still decades of knowledge that they have that will help you grow. You know, so when people tell me, oh, this person is just a life coach, they're fake, I said, what did you see that made you decide this is your choice? You didn't see people that go to work.
You saw people that coach for life.
That coach from Instagram. I can't.
All right, because of time, one final very quick question. You've trained bartenders and you've trained entrepreneurs. What's harder, teaching technical skills or teaching mindset?
Yeah. To be honest, they're almost the same, just because it has to do with the level of expectation of both. So when you come and you want to learn about business, it's inept in you. It's something that you already know, okay, I want to start selling cups. I want to design the cups in this particular way. And we're talking about all the steps, your accounting, your infrastructure, your location, what you know, how you're going to manage your finance, your marketing, your social media. So we're guiding you on steps, but you have the foundation, which is amazing. With bartending, you come with the desire for knowledge, which is already, that's all you need. You just need to want to learn. Once you're able to have that desire, you've already achieved your goal to a very large degree. So,
right. We've had quite a very interesting conversation. Thank you so much, Chizoba, for coming, you know, gracing our table and speaking to us on the power of mentorship. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We also, you know that mentorship plays a vital role in bridging today's experience with tomorrow's innovation, and that's also the power of industrialization. It's not just about factories, machines, or policies on paper. It's about creating a job-rich economy that truly transforms lives. But for that transformation to actually last, we must also invest in people, invest in skills, visions, and also confidence of the next generation, even if it's a Gen Z. Now, on Jasiri, we believe that industrialization and mentorship go hand in hand, and one builds industries, the other builds leaders. And together, we can shape the future Nigeria deserves. Thank you so much for joining us. And do not forget to tune in tomorrow for Hot Topics Special, you know, where one of Nollywood's finest producers will be sitting at the table with us. Don't miss it. And bye for now.
Don't be cement. No, should you be cement? Be cement, bro. What is it?